Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day. The Alpha and the Omega. I just wanted to read the beginning and the end, and I'm doing this for a specific purpose, and I'll explain as I go along what I'm doing. I've got videos explaining the stone, explaining where Moses and Jesus came about, the Ten Commandments, the 7-day creation, the seven angels, the Ark of the Covenant, the seven colors. I've got videos explaining all that, and most of my videos I do. So in this one, I just wanted to read the beginning and the end, and show you guys something and give you a new light, if that makes sense. In the beginning, I created the heart and the flesh, or the heavens and the earth. The flesh was formless and empty, and the darkness covered the deep waters. So when I look at waters, sometimes I look at that as what's inside the soul, or I look at like the living waters, or I look at that like the words we ingest or read, like the word. And then when I look at oceans and seas, what are those? That's salt water. And I look at those like huge entire books or large amounts of people. If you did everything a whole book or people told you to, you would drown in the sea, so to speak. But we drink clean water, if that makes sense, or we're supposed to be clean water. And the spirit of mine was hovering over the surface of the waters. Now, if you notice, the water was still clean even though it was in darkness, because how any of this even works is supposed to be based on your heart. It's supposed to be based on the knowledge you possess. So one person could say the F word, or one person could say hell, and it could be just a word, right? But another person could say, I'm going to damn you to hell and you're going to burn in hell eternity. Now those words mean two different things, if that makes sense. We are not to be two-dimensional thinkers, but to think at a higher level. So you can think however you want. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said it like that. Basically what I'm saying is a lot of people are doing one-dimensional, two-dimensional thinking instead of walking above the waters, if that makes sense. Then I said, let there be light, and there was light, and I saw that the light was good. Then I separated the light from the darkness, and I called the light day and the darkness night. And so then if you pay attention, what do? We have our own good and evil. It's in the midst of the garden, is it not? But we don't take our stones and stone the people with them, or else by the end it could become a lamb with a sword, 7 horns and 7 stars, and angels plaguing everything, or it could be a dragon with a whole bunch of horns and powers and 2 suns that destroy the world. Then I said, let there be space between the waters to separate the waters from the heart from the waters from the flesh. So then you have different people what they believe in the heart, but then you have what people believe in throughout the peoples of the... So I'll give you an example. We have Jesus, right? That pagan god name. Okay, I'm sorry. A lot of people believe in the pagan Roman god Jesus, but then you have the Jesus that's in people's hearts. So you'll have people going around saying, Jesus is Lord, and you're going to follow him and bow. But then you have the people that follow righteously in their hearts that do what they're supposed to do, so to speak, if that makes sense. So I'm not perpetuating Jesus. How I believe in the beginning, the Word was who I am, and the Word was with who I am. It's the Word. And people are turning different words into religions and creating institutions out of them. I made this space to separate the waters from the flesh and the waters from the heart. And I called the space sky. And the evening passed and the morning came, marking the 2nd day. Then I said, let there be waters beneath the sky to float together in one place so the dry ground may appear. So then look, you have the dry ground. You have a spot where there is stuff that's set apart, and then you have a spot where there's the waters or whatever, or the deep seas and whatnot. So what that means to me is you have a person who has fleshly desires, and then you have a person that has deep fleshly desires, like the iceberg. So then you'll have a situation where it's on the outside that I'm a black man, but then there may be aspects of being a black man that are deep inside that live on me differently than what other people can see. Then I said, let there be land to sprout out with vegetation and every seed-bearing plant. So then look at this like words also. Maybe I'm feeling depressed or something's happening, and then different words come to my mind to feed me, like fuel. You see what I'm saying? And so like I said before, you could be like a search engine. Anything could pop up. But then think about later, there's man to come to till the ground. Then, so if you think about that, you have the earth, you have the body, but then you have something deep on the inside that guides us, that helps us grow. We call them angels, or however you want to look at it. But then don't look at that like physical men. Look at that like the words we harbor on the inside to help us build and grow. If you think of the concept of the Tower of Babel, you just have different people taking the same. Look at the Bible. You have one Bible but 45,000 denominations. Look at the Torah in Islam. You have one Torah and one Quran, but they have thousands of different sects and religions. Towers of Babel. They're trying to reach the heart, the heavens, and learn who I am, if that makes sense. But when I say that, a lot of times when I say I am, guys, I speak as a singularity for the collective. I'm not saying as in I own any of you, or that's the only way. What I'm saying is I'm speaking from the spirit, and we all have one. So let every seed-bearing plant and trees grow from seed-bearing fruit. These seeds will produce the kinds of plants and trees from which they came. And that is what happened. The land produced vegetation and all sorts of seed, bearing plants and trees with seed-bearing fruit. So remember how Adam hid behind the trees or whatever? That's symbolic for something, hiding behind something that was created by who I am to hide behind who I am. Their seeds produce plants and trees of the same kind. So let's say I go to the store and steal a candy bar. I'm not throwing no law at people or anything. But then after stealing the candy bar, I feel bad afterwards or some whatever. That's my own knowledge or condemnation speaking to me. Hey, did you just steal that? Hey, Cain, where's your brother? Hey, blah, 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 blah. You see what I'm saying? As I've told people before, I don't perpetuate going into this book, but I'm going to say if you do go into this book, if you read it like how I am, you will see each individual's man's God or whatever. And the only reason I'm saying God is to edify their I am, their essence, who they were, and you'll see what they did throughout the earth. But also at the same time, if you're blameless, unless you're blameless, and if you're accusing people, what did Noah do? Since he was the only blameless one, he flooded everybody else off the earth, so to speak. You see how this is happening, and then a Messiah walks the earth. And that's the essence of how the story of Cain and Abel even works, right? A man's kicked out of the garden and then he walks the flesh. The seed produced plants and trees of the same kind, and I saw that it was good. And evening passed and the morning came, and it was the third day. So you guys will hear me say that Moses came on the third day, so to speak, as like a symbolic thing, or the Ten Commandments. Now, if you pay attention to that, now there's life coming, right? So what came when Moses came? The Son of Man. I keep telling y'all they're naming him Moses and all these other names and Aaron, but it's the Ten Commandments. And so what does the Ten Commandments do? It goes inside and starts to cultivate the land, if that makes sense. That's the truth. Okay, so let these lights in the sky shine down on the earth, and that is what happened. I made two great lights, the larger one to govern the day and the smaller one to govern the night. So now you would have light. So imagine I'm gonna say something real quick. At first you have the man. Remember, my spirit hovered above the waters, and then a man appears and he starts doing all the stuff, right? So it's symbolic, explaining the whole creation, the whole prophecy at the beginning, and that's why I'm only reading the beginning. So then I would say Moses, right? The Ten Commandments was part of this the third day. Then I would say on the fourth day, this would be John the Baptist. Let light appear. Then we got peace and love, because what happened on the first day, or what happened on the third day, all this, when Moses came, there was law. But then Aaron, Akenatib, whoever you want to call him, used the Ten Commandments to start writing new laws and all this religion and stuff. Then John the Baptist came, remember, as an atonement, so to speak. And when they say a man died for our sins, you guys are thinking of it as he has to do it to magically atone. It's saying that a man came as the lamb. The first three commandments, as I've told y'all, saying that there's no gods. I am the way, I am the light, I am the bread of life, and not to take my name in vain. But y'all killed people doing that, right? They died for the sins, the religion. People saying, you're not God, and killed. Then I said, let lights appear in the sky to separate day from the night. So I'm going to explain what I mean. The Ten Commandments is the revelation and the beginning. The first three commandments are the Lamb, or the light, or who I am, the whole spirit that's hovering. And then the other 7 commandments are what's creating the flesh, the earth, the words. I made 2 great lights, one larger to govern. So the 7 angels in the Revelation, the 7 colors in the Ark of the Covenant, the 7 days of the creation, the 7 angels that come out of the tabernacle, and then the Ark, or the Lamb, or the Spirit, or whatever, the major part of the covenant, the Ark, is the first 3 commandments without the names of gods on them, as I am. I also made the stars. I set the lights in the sky to govern the flesh, to govern the day and the night, to separate the light from the darkness. So now what do we do whenever we read or anything? We create what's good and evil. We create what's right for the world. We have our instincts. We have our lives. But then people slither in and manipulate us like Pharaoh. So that's where the 10 Commandments come in. It frees us from Pharaoh's kingdom, and we can go back to... So basically think of it like this. The whole idea of this whole creation is basically gaining knowledge and then taking away the religion and the gods of it to put it into our instincts. So I see people talking about non-duality and ultra instinct and all that. You guys, what you're doing is you're destroying what you're creating. So imagine if I didn't have any thoughts or anything and I was just non-dual and singular. That's not even possible, because the brain is, and it has many different ideas and thoughts and knowledge. I become the one that filters through all of that. So yes, when I say you, it's you and I am and all that, but it's I am who I am, because I am a living representation of what my brain conjures, of what's on the inside, the spirit. Then I said, let there be waters to swarm with the fish and other life. So Then I said, let the water swarm with fish. So then look on the 5th and 6th day, what happened out of all these religions and stuff after John the Baptist came? All through the dark ages, all these different people and all these different spirits and all these different religions came forth. And I created the great sea creatures and every living thing that scurries and swarms in the water and every sort of bird. So when people think of creation and different things, they're not taking into consideration. It's talking about creating what's creating us, our personalities, our lives, our civilization. And then we manifest on the outside as in we create. So I have knowledge of cars. So then we go build cars. I have knowledge of houses. So when we build houses, I don't magically make houses appear. It has to be a world on the inside, and then it manifests on the outside. So if I'm a mean, degrading, foolish person on the inside, that's why I manifest and I mean to others. I don't have some special privilege of saying, oh, I'm the best, how I'm gonna be mean to them. That's all gonna live inside, and that's what you're made of. Some people are mean because of how people are on the outside. Well, do unto others as you'll do unto yourself. So if you don't want to be treated mean, if somebody comes up and treats you mean, defend yourself and then leave or do something you need to do. But if you sit there and fight forever and ever, you're wasting your energy. So I created the great, what's up? Okay, thank you. So I created the great sea creatures and everything living that scurries and swarms in the water, and every sort of bird, each producing offspring of the same kind. And I saw that it was good. Then I blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. Let the fish fill the seas and the birds multiply on the flesh. Let the fish fill the seas, or the books, or the between the peoples, or the deep conscience. See, let the spirit work with you how it will. But then when you go, if I were to go in here and say, this is what this means, then I am adding to an image of Pharaoh or some image and manipulating people with it. I am here with freedom. So people will say, you're being religious. What am I doing? I'm reading words out of a book. I'm giving it in a way that doesn't enslave people and giving them a way out, so to speak. People keep saying the Messiah is coming. Well, how is a Messiah going to be a king and rule over people if Messiah means to free people? People are playing with words. And something else, you guys should do research on what the words Ashke Nazi means and Sephardic, the roots and the suffixes of these words. And I keep telling people, the Catholic Church, the oldest Hebrew Bible they have is from 900 AD. And it was put together by different men. So I don't even, and then they recreated Hebrew with Yiddish and Aramaic. People are playing and doing this, and now black people are talking about, that black Hebrew Israelites are talking about we're the chosen people of Israel and all this other stuff. All these words are English, and you guys are playing with a perpetuated book that was perpetuated by the Pope and European and Shemites. Keep saying we're Shemites, but all of Ham was of African descent. Then I said, let the flesh produce every sort of animal, each producing offspring of its kind and all that, and the livestock and everything. So look, the wild beasts that walk the flesh, what came out of the pit? A whole bunch of beasts and all this other stuff. What's the pit to who I am? The imagination. It's deep within the earth. So this book can be likened to, this book can be physical, spiritual, whatever you need to be. It's the garment of who I am to live, Jerusalem. My fire comes down, burns away the darkness, right? You don't see me saying different people are evil. I'm saying the institutions that enslave people are. So then I said, let us make human beings in our image. So I did some research, and this is really weird. Don't let me be a Nephilim. I keep telling y'all don't worship me. But I looked up what J used to be, it was Y. And I looked up what B used to be, it was a high V, so it's a big V. So if you take it to account what these things sound like, my gamer name, and I couldn't understand it, even with the 6, right? On the 6th day, my gamer name is JB6. So according to pronunciation, it's supposed to be Yad V6. Never knew this. This is not something I just came up with. And the name Juan is like John, Yehohanan and Yehanan. And they will say John the Baptist is resurrected. Like, because you guys will see this and think magic is because the words that have lived. I keep telling people, everybody that reads these books, all these civilizations, and most civilizations have them that are in power, they have these words in them. They read these words and subconsciously live them out because they're being manipulated by the serpent. If I put no gods before who I am, who's the serpent? They're putting God's names in Jesus. I am who I am. They put God for who I am, or they put God as I am, and put Jesus as for who I am, and different men. I don't know men and nothing under the earth and sea, but all these different men are our leaders. I'm telling you, you're supposed to take different words. Nobody owns anything. These men use words that they learned, and men before them use words that they learned. Joshua is not smarter than any of us. Joshua means I am salvation. Then I said, let us make human beings in our image to be like us. They will reign over. So let me give you an idea of how I say non-duality is dangerous. but don't have many like Legion. And people will be like, what? Okay, who I am, let's say I'm sitting on the couch thinking, and a thought comes from my mind, boom. Now, it is my job to filter that and see what's going on. The unleavened bread, the unfiltered thoughts. People will hear things and see things and be like, I'm possessed, I'm the devil, I'm the... Who taught you all that? Who taught you were sinning? Who taught you any of this? So I created human beings in my own image. In the image of who I am, I created them. Male and female, I created them. Then I blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, govern it, flesh, whatever you... So, if you're going to have men, angels that walk the flesh, they're angels. Don't worship them. Don't let them destroy you. What do the Son of Man and everybody else in all these books? You notice how there's 3 angels in Revelation. There's usually 3 angels in David and all these other places. There's 3 men at the river, 2 on both sides, and then 1 angel at the top saying, when is it time? They're turning the 3 commandments, symbols. So the dragon knocks the first 3 stars out of the sky. The first 3 commandments, he puts his name on them, the Lord God, Hashem, Allah. And then they become the mouth to speak. Then they use the other 7 heads to strike like law instead of letting them be lights to govern the day. Then I said, look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant. You can read whatever you want, do whatever you want. But you will be, what will be manifested out of what you read is who you are. So you go be a nice person because you let nice words live inside. If you're a faker and you're being nice for some whatever else reason, you're not hurting nobody but yourself. You're the one letting that live inside, and then you're perpetuating something else. Does that make sense? So people are like, I'm not religious. I don't believe in all this blah, blah, foolishness. I'm free. But still have nightmares, still think of eternities, what happens when we die, all this other stuff. You're still plagued by the same words, but you're taking away from what you, if that makes sense. And I've given you all this stuff, and I have given evergreen plant as food for the wild animals, for all the wild animals and the birds in the sky. So I cause it to rain on the just and the unjust. You guys, things are going to exist. It's when we try to manipulate and create good and evil. So the tree is in the garden. But if I go up to somebody and say, you're fucking gay, you're evil, Timothy says, and the Bible says, and Paul says, you're letting a woman preach in that church, Timothy says, you're eating unkosher food, blah, blah, blah says. I am not those men. If I am eating chicken and steak and pork, and that's fine for who I am, but now here we go. If I have heart problems and all these other things and I eat those things, what am I doing? I'm saying, I'm not religious, so I can hear what I want, but you're still hurting yourself. You all are playing with words, 2-dimensional thinking, good and evil. You have to think at higher levels, so to speak. Understand over judging super quickly. Learning over creating that which is concrete. So I can learn all this stuff and say, I'm the smartest wise man, I stand on the stone. And then realize there's so much more I need to learn, and so much more that needs to be invented, and so much more that needs to be created. So I just cut off everything, right? See how that's working? And evening passed and the morning came, marking the 6th day. And if you look into creation, it's the year 6002 or something like that, I believe. I'm telling you it is. So the creation of the heart and the flesh and everything in them was completed. And on the 7th day I finished my work of creation. So I rested from all my work. And I blessed the 7th day and declared it holy, because it was the day. The 7th angel throws his vial in the air and then it was completed. Pay attention, guys. What I'm telling you is, so basically the 10 commandments live inside of who I am. The word became flesh. So the word always was, we all lived off words, but then we needed freed from all this religious garbage, right? The curse. None of us are exempt. We all have, you could say you're not religious, but you were still raised by the words of people who were raised by this world. And a lot of people, let's say people are atheists, but they're still drunkards and hit on people and curse people out and act a nut. Am I saying any of that is evil? What I'm saying is harmful. And you go around harming people, even if you're not religious, you're no different. The man and woman in Eden. When I had made the flesh and the heavens, neither wild plants nor grains grew on the flesh. So what am I doing right now? You all are the flesh, so to speak, and I am presenting a new spirit, the Adam, right? You corrupt this one, have fun with 7,000 more years of this stuff, or however long, right? I had not sent nourishment to reign over the flesh. There were no people to cultivate the soil, no angels, so to speak. Instead, springs came up from the ground and watered all the flesh. Then I formed a man from the dust of the ground. I will say the 10 commandments, or a new spirit, or whatever. Because we had the 10 commandments and look what people did with it. Then we had peace and love and look what people did with it. So I am exemplifying a new way. I'm bringing the name, thinking like Cain and Abel and Seth. You all had Moses and John the Baptist. Now I am like Seth. I'm bringing the name. You all create Messiahs and Enochs and Noahs and Lamechs. Like I said, What did Pontius do? He washed his hands. I'm washing my hands in the fire, so to speak. Man, I breathed the breath of life into men's nostrils, and it became a living person. Then I planted a garden in the east of Eden, the heart, where I placed a man that I made. And I made all sorts of trees to see. I'm cultivating. So now, let's say I go into your hearts, or whoever, whatever you, how you want to see this. Remember, John the Baptist said, "I make way for the bride," groom, or whatever. In the middle of the garden. So now, with these new ways and these new words and all the condemnation and fear and all this destruction taken away, people can live and create again and do that which is right. But have an example, this book of what happens when you become too wise, Solomon, and set eternity into the human heart, right? And all these other men, David and everybody else who died on the Sabbath. If you understand what that means, he tried to become so holy that he feared death and created a whole bunch of law for his ancestors, or the people that come after him. A river flowed from the land of Eden, watering the garden, and divided it into 4 branches. I have 4 scrolls. That is weird. Flowed around the entire land of Havilah, where gold is found. The gold, the spiritual gold, I would that you have your gold refined in the fire. They turned the refinery into hell, like Nebuchadnezzar, right? So now people are terrified of being cleansed because they calling it hell and everything else. The second branch, called Gihon, flowed around the entire land of Cush. The third branch, called the Tigris, flowed from the east of the land of Ashur. The fourth branch is called the Euphrates. Then I placed a man in the garden of Eden to tend and watch over it. But I warned him, "You may freely eat of any fruit of the garden except for the tree of knowledge of good and evil." So it's there, but y'all eat off that and live off that. Okay. If you eat of its fruit, you will surely die. So I heard a man on, I think his name is Dan McClellan, and he was doing reactions to different people. So if you really pay attention, because people say Bible scholars and all that, that's what you're doing it. You're listening to what other men say instead of understanding for who I am myself. So I read in this book and learned that a day is but 1,000 years to who I am. So then when I pay attention to all the symbols and bring it together, that would mean just like each of these days in the creation story. So that would mean to me that even if Adam did live for 950 years, so to speak, and I would take that to be spiritual, or else I would convert the months to years, because in the old calendar, the year was based on months. So I think 12 months would be like 12 years or something like that. It wasn't until like 2500, according to written history, when the Egyptians and the Mayans and stuff, or whoever, changed it to the solar calendar. So Adam would have been 78 according to real logic, but based on spiritual years, he would have lived for a day, or almost a day. So if Adam died in 950 years, that means he lived for almost a day, but he didn't. On this day, he died. So I don't want to get into all that and sin and everything else. That was just a spiritual saying to understand something. I didn't say a man lived for 1,000 years or 950 years. It's something spiritual. So if I go out and Yohanan does whatever in the world and people listen to me or whatever, and it goes out for 1,000 years or however long, even if my name fades, if people are still listening to what I'm saying through the spirit, then basically what's happening is that's the time length that it's living for. Why I wash my hands of this to say good and evil, people go around destroying and doing all this other stuff, that's on them. I said every man has their own I am, so to speak, who they are. And I didn't even mean to say it like that, because then they treat I am like a pagan god name. Then I said it's not good for a man to be alone, right? So you guys are looking at it as man and women, but I'm basically saying I'm giving you the new spirit, which is the man, so to speak. So I'm not saying it has to be a man on. Let the spirit deal with you how it will. So I formed from the ground all the wild animals and the birds, right, in the sky. And I brought them to the man to see what he would call. So now you notice everything was created before man in the 6th day, but then on the 6th day man was created. See what he would choose for each. He gave names to all the livestock and all the birds of the sky and all the wild animals, the spirits of things. And like, what do? We name things. Even with us, we have names. I'm Juan Bruce Jr., am I not? But still, there was no helper just right for him. So I caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. So now, right? So now when the flesh is gone, or however this works, now the spirit lives on through the other people that are raised up through who I am. And closed the opening. Then I made a woman from the rib and brought her to the men. So if you take this and think that men can be women and all sorts, I'm telling you, and think that women need to be men, you guys are misinterpreting symbols and causing them to live out physically in a way that's not of nature, if that makes sense. So if a man go around saying I am woman and all this stuff, then she's telling the truth. What I'm saying is, see, you guys take I am and put symbols on them and then create it to mean something, and you confuse yourselves. At last the man exclaimed, "This one bone from my bone and flesh from my flesh." So it took my flesh to speak it first, did it not? Will be called woman, because she was taken from the man. That's why I keep telling y'all. So this explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined with his wife. So look, Now, when I grew up, I lived in my father and mother's house. They taught me everything I need to know. Now I'm a grown man and I speak on behalf, and then other people might listen and think, oh, this might be righteous. This might be a new way. Woo woo. But see, I'm not ruling over you. Forsake not the flesh. I'm giving it to you away in that it's easy and light. I'm not giving no laws and no such stuff. I'm giving light. Oh, whoa, uh-oh. You must not eat of it or you surely die. Sin. Sin is good and evil. Okay, so if I'm going to follow correctly, Alpha and Omega, here's the end. The angel showed me a river. The angel. Yehanan showed me a river with the water of life, clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of who I am and the Lamb. So what I say the Lamb was the first 3 commandments. But what y'all did to John, I'm forgiveness and mercy. For what happened to Zechariah and John the Baptist and everything else and all the other prophets has already lived out. So I am happy, I am glad, and at this point I am peace and mercy and forgiveness, and simply saying that you all should thank John the Baptist, dude. Y'all keep saying Jesus Christ's name. I would that you thank Yehohanan the Baptist, Ben Hagios. But you worship this man, and watch what's going to happen, because the Lamb is the first 3 commandments. But he did it in a way that was peace and love. Love shall rule forever, so to speak. When I say that, I am who I am, put no gods before who I am. So exemplify love, and all the law, do unto others as I was doing to myself, or you're going to become a pharaoh, a beast, and a false prophet, all in one. It flowed down the center of the main street on each side of the river and grew a tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, with a fresh crop each month. The leaves, so each generation will probably see this and come up with their own sayings, stories, all that. But if you use these sayings to manipulate people and destroy them and create gods, I'm telling you what's going to happen. Call this the book of examples. That's why I said if you want to go into this book, whatever you read, if those words begin to manipulate you or rule over you, I'm telling you, this is what you chose to do. I'm saying you're the one over the waters. You, how the different angels in the book will say, have mercy on me and do not forsake me and all this other stuff. They're begging for you to let them live. They're saying, I'm sorry for what I did. Please show mercy on me. You're the creators. No longer will there be a curse upon anything, for the throne of who I am and the Lamb will be there, and his servants will worship him. John the Baptist. So what does John the Baptist exemplify? Peace, love, and forgiveness and mercy. Speaking against the darkness. When he spoke against the darkness, he didn't murder nobody, do all this other foolishness. He was a lamb. So how did he get taken in prison? If he was a famous rabbi, he could have started a war. You see how this is working? I'm not telling you to be John the Baptist. I'm telling you to understand what he was doing. And they will see his face. They will see my face, and my name will be written on their foreheads. And they will no more, and there will be no more night, no more need for lamps or sun. For I will shine on them, and they will reign forever and ever. Then Yehanan said to me, everything you have heard and seen. Then the angel said to him, everything you have heard and seen is trustworthy and true. I am who inspired the prophets. I sent my angels to tell my servants what will happen soon. I am coming. Look, I am coming soon. Here I am. Blessed are those who obey the words of the prophecy written in this book. I, Yehanan, am the one who heard and saw these things. Because if I say John, I'm only saying that I read what he read. You guys have to understand what's happening. So yeah, John wrote these things, but who gave them life to live inside and read them? Me. The flesh. And then they were baptized by the waters. The words. I am the one who heard and saw these things, and when I heard and saw them, I fell down and worshipped at the feet of the angel who showed them to me. So, as I told y'all before, no matter what comes to your mind, if you start worshiping that, no, don't worship me. I am a servant of who I am. So you guys will say me. You guys, it sounds like I'm splitting myself, because when I say I am, I'm doing for the total of humanity. I don't want nobody, children, men, women, nobody. I don't gays, straights, lesbians, purple, green, blue. I don't want nobody to be hurt. I want them all to be given love like who I am. And the angels that come to your mind are just that. Only you can decipher and do anything. Just like you and the unleavened bread. What comes to the inside, and then who I am filters that. And then gives rise to life. So that people can eat from the good bread. I am the bread of life. as well as all who obey what is written in this book. Only worship who I am. Then but do unto others as to who I am. Then he instructed me, do not seal up the prophetic words in this book, for the time is near. Let one who is doing harm continue to do harm. Let one who is vile continue to be vile. That's why I said don't fight and argue and act annoyed with people, because they're going to drag you in. The adulterers and the murderers sit outside the gates. Let the one who is righteous continue to live righteously. Let the one who is holy continue to be holy. Look, here I am, bringing my reward with me to all the people according to their deeds. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Blessed are those who wash their robes. Joshua was given a new garment, and the accuser was at his side day and night. But I simply said, I rebuke thee, Satan. I rebuke thee, who I am not. They will be permitted to enter through the gates of the city and eat the fruit from the tree of life. Outside the city are the dogs. So anybody that sees the simple stuff that I give, whether they say, that's not the golden chalice, that's not the holy Lord God that does miracles, this man coming on behalf of who I am and can't do miracles and signs and that's not, do you know where any of this comes from? Judah was, okay, so I could say Israel, but remember, it will come from Judah. So Israel and all that was gobbled up by Assyria. So that's why I don't include none of that. They were wiped out the blessing, remember? So Judah, Yahudah. So let me tell y'all something. Babylon attacked Judah. Then the Talmud and the Gomorrah appears. So Sodom and Gomorrah got burnt up, and Babylon is the root of all this blah, blah, blah. But they learn out of the Gomorrah Talmud and the Babylonian... You see what I'm saying? The Kabbalah, Gomorrah, and Babylonian Talmud. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So then you go in further. What happens after that? Persia attacks Greece and Rome, the four beasts that attacked Judah, right? So then what do they all do? They turn into a mega beast. What does everybody say? God, Allah, Hashem, right? The city will branch off into three different sections. Catholicism, the first beast, was utterly burned with fire, was it not, over time? But then the other three beasts remained. Yeah. So outside of the city are dogs, sorcerers, sexually immoral, and murderers. What they do is they stack their religions and religious beliefs and put it onto an image. Then they force the world to bow to this image or die, like Nebuchadnezzar with the flutes and the harps. Like the burning fire of when the Son of Man, they saw it inside. What was that? The first three commandments. And when they were in the fire, it doesn't affect them, but they followed the other seven. That's why it's a whole body, if that makes sense. Who I am, have sent my angel to give you this message for the churches. I am both the source of David and the heir to his throne. I am the bright morning star. The Spirit and the bride say, come. Let anyone who hears this, the blood and the Spirit agree. Come with the water. Let anyone who is thirsty come. Let anyone who desires drink freely from the water of life. And I solemnly declare to everyone who hears the words of prophecy written in this book, if anyone adds to anything what is written in here, I will add to that person the plagues described in this book. So look at them running around like ants with the pheromones of death trails, acting a nut with religion. So, and if anyone, I'm going to give you an example of how stuff can turn into buffoonery and lead out and continue to plague people. Remember, the entire family is affected. The parents of the children leak. The sins of the parent leak onto the children. The third and fourth generation will hate who I am, but the fifth and sixth will love me. So, imagine this. Look at what Catholicism, look at what the Greeks birthed, right? The Greeks came up with theology, right? That was the birthplace of Christianity. People keep saying the thoughts of a Messiah and came from Judaism. Y'all don't even. Judaism didn't exist. Like, it's an German English word, so I'm not going to play with people. So anyways, the Greeks created theology, right? So all these philosophers went to Egypt, did all this learning, and Plato and Socrates and all these people, and then they mixed with Judah, the Jews, and then they started creating Pharisees and Sadducees. A Pharaoh, a Pharisee. Are you guys not seeing this? So then what happens? They kill on behalf of the law. Just like bow to Pharaoh or die. Then what happens after Moses' time? Bow to the Ten Commandments or die. Then what happened after John the Baptist? Bow to Jesus Christ or Leones or whatever his name was, the chosen anointed one. So what's happening is people are creating religion on top of something and rejecting the stone. Well, the stone was brought from the mountain, the Ten Commandments. So, and then they said the word can be manifested in the flesh, but when people speak as I am or say anything, they're stoned, are they not, with words or real stones? The Lamb, they're trying to exemplify what is. So look at Christianity theology, which led to Rome, right? When John the Baptist was preaching against this union, he got killed by the flesh, right? The wife of the spirit that was taking this stuff. And then once the flesh killed John the Baptist, they took his head, right? Christianity, Catholicism. And then what did they do? It lives out to this day. Look, now we have Neo and the Matrix. So if you pay attention to Neo and the Matrix, it's another Christian story. What did the Matrix do to bajillions of minds of people? Create insanity. A whole matrix of a story of stupidity. Neo, the one is Neo backwards, and then you have Morpheus, and they can morph and transform. Like, come on, guys, what does the spirit do but morph into different things, and then it breaks free from the teachings of the world? They're steadily adding to this, and instead of edifying so that people can understand. So look at The Matrix. I love that movie. It's fun. It's amazing. But look at all these people out here talking about Neo's the way, and we got to break out. You know how many people have committed suicide because of The Matrix? Because of movies like Shutter Island? Because of movies like Vanilla Sky? These movies that don't edify and cause people to go mad and believe they have to escape something that isn't real. Look at The Matrix 4. Jumping off of buildings. They don't care about who we are or us. They don't care what's imprinted in us. All they care about... So I could watch these movies with common sense and know not to do none of this stuff. But look at the people who aren't as smart and are entangled in this stuff. He who is in prison is going to be imprisoned until I arrive. He who is bound by the word or killed by the sword is going to die by the sword. The word. They're destroying themselves with this stuff. And come who I am. May the grace of who I am be with who I am and my holy people. So, if that makes sense, follow along. If not, I'm not the author of confusion. I said I am not for people that don't want this. When I see the red on the door, if that makes sense, people who follow the right spirit, I simply keep going and do what needs to be done, if that makes sense. I'm not talking about Yehanan, but although in the same sense, I am Yehanan, so I need to edify. Basically, I'm going to show you how the spirit works and what people are failing to realize. John the Baptist told them that stand here, someone you don't know, and it's greater, and blah, 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 stuff like that, right? When I go to talk to somebody, my words go inside. You hear, you listen. Depending on if you receive me or not, what's going to happen is you're either going to reject me and say, no, that's stupid on the inside, or blah, blah, whatever. You don't have to be that, I don't believe in this. Or you are going to believe in it, and if you do believe in it, you're going to change your personality slowly. So, before, I didn't know nothing about religion or adultery. But if now I know thou shalt not commit adultery, I have a choice either to do it or not. If I do it, I am rebuking something I heard that's logic. If I cheat on my wife, I'm going to hurt her feelings, and I'm going to hurt myself, so to speak, with litigation and law. It's just going to make your life bad. But now if then I go, I can't commit adultery because the Lord God's going to strike me. Okay. Yeah, you're bound. You're not going to commit adultery. But look what you're doing. You're a slave. So am I saying go commit adultery? No. That's what I'm telling people not to do. But what I am saying is, then don't get married. Marriage is a man's law. First of all, you know how I feel about marriage personally? How is a piece of paper and a word, how's a piece of paper and a law going to tell me that I'm in love with somebody for the rest of my life? You see what I'm saying? Like, so yes, marriage, if people want to get married, yes. If they want to signify their love and be together forever with law, yes. But what I am saying is, you all are attacking each other slowly, after generation, and don't realize how or why with certain laws. So I'm not here to attack married people. I'm not here to attack single people. I'm not here to attack people who have committed adultery. I'm not here to bless and say, oh, you're the best if you've never committed adultery. I am no sides. I am simply saying, pay attention to what I am doing so I can have a beautiful life and not be bound by mankind. Mankind, human, what does that mean? You're letting a man rule over your flesh. You're letting, so non-duality. Okay. When you say non-duality, what's happening in these kingdoms is 3 and 4 in Legion. There's a God or Pharaoh or something, the God that they put into us, and then it rules over who I am as a total, my spirit and my flesh. So, that makes sense. And as I've told people before, a spirit, so imagine if I go into, if it's wintertime and I walk into a house and there's Christmas decorations everywhere and there's hot cocoa and, you know, Santa Claus is on the TV and presents and everything. None of that stuff is evil. It's what I do with those things. Money isn't evil. It's how I use money. It's what I do in the heart. So even if what I think is using right for money is not the same as what somebody else might think is right. But if I see millions of people starving, dying, being manipulated and tortured, I'm going to speak out against it and come for thee, if that makes sense. So, Yeah. Oh, spirit of a church. You go into a church. You're getting. I want to be nice now and holy and do the right thing and all those other things, but you're just playing yourself. Because yeah, it's good to be formal and it's good to do. If you're in a civilized situation, you don't want to be jumping around like an animal and acting a nut. But when you start to unrighteously just go off the deep end to live up to some image, that's what you're doing. Spirit of Halloween, you go into a haunted house and there's spooky decorations everywhere and ghosts and ghouls and all those other things. Spirits don't have flesh and blood. They're principalities. Oh, the devil's some giant red goat with horns and walking around like a blah, blah, blah. You're creating a teaching that will give that power over you, and then it's going to manipulate you in the dark and confuse you and scare you. So, I am who I am sent me. I hope you can enjoy this at the end because it's literally describing what this last passage is talking about. On the other hand, the 12 fruits from each tree could be the 12 prophets from the Old Testament. Edify properly what I am. Y'all keep putting God in his names. And then on the other hand, in the New Testament, the 12 fruits could be the apostles with the red writing in their books, not with the names of gods or Jesus, but the ideas and the philosophies of being merciful and peaceful and kind to others. You don't see me going out telling people they're evil and all this other stuff. I am simply teaching people a way out of that hellfire box of Nebuchadnezzar's box they manipulate people with hell with. So enjoy your lives. And I am who I am isn't a god. It's a phrase. It means be who you are, have passion like Abel, and don't let Cain slay you from the field with words of destruction.